I, 24, female, am one of two kids. My older sister, 28, was the golden child, and honestly, I feel bad for her. My sister was a prodigy. She skipped 3 grades and was gifted in both academia and athleticism, and my parents made her life a nightmare. Her schedule was full: school, extracurriculars, sports, music lessons, dance lessons, etc. When I was very young, I was jealous of her. Then I turned 10 and started feeling really bad for her. She wasn't allowed friends. They would hold her back. Free time, she could have the rest of her life to enjoy after finishing medical school, or even the freedom to choose her future career or her own hobbies. It was all planned for her to maximize her chances to get into Harvard for pre-med and then Johns Hopkins for med school. When she graduated high school at 15, my parents uprooted us because they couldn't allow her to go to college independently, so we left Virginia to go to Massachusetts. I resented them so badly then, but I felt even more sympathy towards my sister because for years she had been dreaming about finally having some freedom while in college. They continued with their intense control over her life. I graduated high school, and 2 years later, I left the whole country. That was how much I hated them. I moved to France, went to school here, and currently work here. When my sister got into med school, they still maintained their controlling attitude. Then sadly, in late 2019, she suffered a psychotic break. To this day, she's still institutionalized because it developed into a full-on illness. When all the hopes they had hung on her ended in nothing, because of them, she started taking drugs because of how oppressive they were. They tried to do the same to me, but sadly for them, I was already a self-sufficient adult on the other side of the ocean, and they had no control over me. They're my sister's legal guardians, so I couldn't cut them off. They are exactly the type of people who would limit my contact with her, and lately they've been pestering me to give them my address. Apparently they want to visit me and get to know my boyfriend. I refused and kept refusing, but I also feel a bit of guilt. Knowing my address does not mean that they would be dropping in every weekend. They live in a completely different country, and my refusal makes my mom very sad. Also, I have a lot of friends saying that it's unreasonable. So, am I the idiot? Not the idiot. Each paragraph kept getting worse. They moved to Virginia to control your sister, and they could do the same with you. So scratch that. To you, I'm not saying no contact, but if they want to meet your boyfriend, go on a trip to see them. No need to give your address. OP, they've done this to themselves and are trying to drag you into it again. You don't owe them anything. Their complete lack of self-reflection is mind-blowing. Don't let them intrude further in the life you've built for yourself. Keep them close enough to continue contact with your sis, because if you give them an inch, they'll take a mile, as it sounds. Believe people when they show you who they are, as their actions speak much louder than words. It's very hard to lie through actions. They aren't interested in their daughters, just what their daughters' statuses can bring to them. That's quite horrific. These people drove your sister crazy to the point they ruined her life. So keep your distance and be very clear you do not owe them anything. Agree, go no contact. Hire a lawyer to sue for the right of visitation and communication. Save any messages indicating that they're using visitation for blackmail or retribution. You never have to set foot in the country. Let the lawyer deal with it, as many states have some degree of visitation rights for adults under guardianship. You can harangue them with lawyers to put their actions as a guardian under a microscope. Try to contest their guardianship. It isn't cheap, but you can dedicate yourself to breaking their control, making them miserable, or getting them to capitulate. Sounds better than hiding and letting them win. Sorry you have parents like this, but you can't ever give them any control over you. If your sister was of sound mind, I'm sure her former self would tell you to let her go rather than get under their thumb. I, 40 female, have a daughter, Erin, teen. When Erin was 10, my ex-husband Mike and I divorced, and he moved to a different city for work. He would come and see Erin a few times a year, and sometimes she would fly to see him. As I'm the only adult Erin has around, I normally cook for the both of us, and occasionally for my boyfriend when he's over for dinner. I'm not a health freak and mostly try to make filling and nutritional meals with cheat meals once or twice a week. A few months ago, my ex-husband moved back to our city alongside his wife, Kim, 32. Erin was happy about it, as it meant she could see her dad more often, and we agreed that she can stay over at their new place over the weekends and holidays if they don't have other plans. I've met Kim a few times and she seems lovely, and I trust Mike to look after her. However, since staying with them, Erin kept talking about what a good cook Kim is and how tasty her food is. When I asked her what she has when she stays, she mentioned a lot of Asian and Asian-inspired dishes, which I have no issues with, since I went through a phase of eating a specific cuisine for a few years when I was younger too. So I've tried to make more Asian-like foods at home to keep Erin happy. Ramen, pad thai, different grilled meats, kimchi, etc. However, no matter what I make, new or old dishes, Erin would say that she doesn't like them and they don't taste good. I had tried making her favorite meals and desserts from before and got the same reaction. Over the last 2 weeks, it's gotten to the point where she would refuse to eat anything I cooked and would either go and stay with friends or have food at Mike's place. I got tired of this, and when Erin came back, I told her that if she didn't like my cooking, she could cook herself and do her own shopping since she knows how to cook, and we have a large supermarket 2 minutes down the road from us. Erin got upset, went to her bedroom to pick her clothes up, and is staying with Mike. Mike and my own parents called me to say I was being unreasonable and an idiot since Erin is my daughter, so I can't keep starving her. I don't think I'm being an idiot here, since my daughter refuses to eat anything I make these days. However, I would appreciate a second opinion. Edit. The food is always available in the fridge. If it's not eaten by the time she goes to school, my boyfriend and I just eat it for lunch and make something new for dinner. Plus, there are always snacks, cereals, different sides, fruits and veggies in the fridge or cupboards, which she can help herself with. Not the idiot. You're providing food for her to eat, and her preferences are preventing her from consuming it. Telling her that if she doesn't like what you cook, then she can purchase or cook her own food does not equivocate to telling her that you're no longer willing to cook or feed her. She's old enough to cook for herself, so she's pretty entitled to react this way. This is not about the food. She gets something there that she doesn't get at your home. Maybe she thinks the grass is looking greener somewhere else. This is no surprise. She probably gets a bit more spoiled at your ex's home because it's all new. Agree. Something else may be happening that's deeper than the food issue. Split parents and crappy relationships with parents make teen years difficult if she's not already in therapy or part of a support group. I went through this same thing in high school because of parent issues, and I wonder if your daughter told them the whole story or if she lied and claimed you weren't feeding her. She's being difficult on purpose. I've been terrified of dogs since I was young. My husband knew, but I don't think he realized how bad it was until recently. He got our son a dog, and at first I was angry, but he promised it wouldn't come near me, and our son was really happy. So I agreed they could keep it, as long as it was kept away from me. For 2 months, it was fine, and I barely thought about the dog being so close. But a few days ago, the dog came inside and it freaked me out. I told my husband he had to get rid of it now, since he broke his promise, and I didn't trust him to keep it away from me anymore. My husband doesn't want to get rid of it because our son is very attached to it, and the dog is harmless, according to him. He wants me to let him take me around the dog, so I'll stop being scared of it. But I refused and told him it had to go. We argued, and he told me that I would have to take it myself if I wanted it gone. My in-laws came to visit yesterday, and my mother-in-law asked me if something had happened between us because I'm still angry at him, and she noticed. I told her about the dog, and she told him off, and she taught him better than to traumatize his pregnant wife. Now my husband is upset at me because he thinks I only told his parents to force him to do what I wanted, and that we'd hurt our son if we got rid of the dog now. Am I the idiot? Everyone's the idiot here. If your phobia is that bad and you're unwilling to address it, you should have never allowed the dog to stay even one night. Your husband should never have gotten the dog without your consent, and the breeder or rescue should never have allowed him to have a dog without knowing all the adults in the home were on board. Your son and a dog will be hurt because of your collective actions. This can't be real. Like you seriously thought you'd be able to have no contact with the dog you live with? Wow, this is sad. I feel for the innocent dog and child in this situation. They've bonded. Do not downplay the hurt that you two have caused to others. This is so wrong. Both adults are selfish. Honestly, mostly you are the idiot. Why did you let your son keep the dog for 2 months? What did you expect, that it would just stay outside forever? That's some idiotic behavior to begin with. Unless it's a dog that enjoys the outdoors, dogs need to be inside with their pack. So again, what did you expect would happen here? Your husband's obviously an idiot for apparently not realizing how frightened you are, but wow, take some ownership of the situation. You should have responsibly rehomed the dog immediately instead of hurting both your son and the dog by allowing a relationship to form. You honestly sound so selfish. This is such a horrible take. OP's not the idiot. Her husband knew she was terrified of dogs, but got one anyway, without any discussion with her. You'll note she said, "He got a dog, I agreed they could keep it." She doesn't say, "I agreed they could get it." She says, "Keep it." Her husband didn't talk to her about it at first. You're calling her an idiot for getting lied to and manipulated. It may be frustrating that she was so naive, but it's still the husband's fault for knowingly making impossible promises. My older brother and I never really had any sort of relationship. He had his own life when he was pretty young. He married young, and our family, parents and I, barely kept in contact with him. There were no disagreements, fights, etc. He didn't cut us off, but never made any attempts to keep in contact, and always rejected any invitations for family meals, etc. He only hinted a few times that his wife didn't like our family. The only time we saw his kid in person was out at a shopping mall by chance. So, over the past few years, my mom's health has worsened, requiring surgery and extra care. So I got my folks to move in with myself and my wife, as it would be easier on them, along with getting professional care services in the daytime. I've updated my brother about the situation from time to time, but he's never visited in person and only sent the odd fruit basket here and there. Recently, I shared with my parents that we were looking to sell our current house to finance an upgrade to a bigger house in a better area. My dad stopped me and said there was no need to, as they could finance that, as they were selling off some properties they had. My parents were not wealthy. They were middle-class folks who bought some properties while they were dirt cheap. My parents spoke a bit about their plans and said that my brother would be receiving half too. I honestly got angry and questioned their decision, given his utter lack of existence in the past 20 years. My parents said that he's still their son at the end of the day, and it's only fair to do so. I said that by giving him half, I was put at a disadvantage to him, given what I had done over the past few years. I told them I didn't care about his half of the inheritance and asked them to consider donating his half away. I found it extremely insulting to be, at the end of the day, valued the same as my brother. One could say value goes beyond monetary items, but actions speak louder than words. My wife scolded me for being so confrontational about it. But I don't know, man, this feels ridiculous. Am I the idiot? Edit. My parents said he's been pretty independent since he was young and just wanted to do his own thing. They've never really interacted much with his wife. Also, my brother never had a wedding, just a civil ceremony with their friends apparently. So no, my family's never met his wife in some sort of family setting. It's always been the very few hi-bye stuff. He lives 30 minutes away from me and our parents. Does he have an abusive wife or something? Does she isolate him? Have you told them this is how you feel? Not the idiot. While it is their money, they seem to ignore all your efforts and contributions, and it looks like you're most upset about that implication, given how they split things. Perhaps they don't realize how or why it makes you feel undervalued and underappreciated. You're resentful that your brother has essentially walked away from any responsibility or familial relationship and left the burden of your parents' care on you. This is valid. Your parents will always see him as their little boy, and want to split things evenly between their two children, as good parents do. Valid and fair of them, but painful when you're the one holding the bag, and he's not even offering a shoulder to cry on or an ear to listen to when things are tough. It's a no-win situation, sadly. You had to put in the emotional, physical, and mental work it takes to care for an ailing family. It's like a slap in the face, and your feelings are 100% valid. You are the idiot. It is not your money or your decision what they decide to do with it. They're right. At the end of the day, he's also their son, and if they want to give him half, that's their decision to make. The fact that you feel him getting half puts you at a disadvantage, says you care more about the money than you care to admit. It sounds like you thought you'd get more than him as a reward for helping your parents. Last week, Friday, my son Tween got his phone confiscated at school. He was mucking around with it during class, and the school rules are clear about phone usage during class without permission, so I totally understood. The normal protocol is that the phone would go to the office and be returned to the student at the end of the day or the next day. However, his teacher apparently forgot to stop by the office before going home after school, and so she accidentally took it home with her. And through some negligence, the phone broke in her toddler's hands. Admittedly, she was very upfront about it and even came to our house personally to tell us what had happened and apologize, which I respect. She suggested a repayment plan for the phone and offered an old phone of hers for him in the meantime, but it was essentially a brick with a screen. After she left, I emailed the school about everything, simply because it's something the school should also be involved in, since she's a teacher and easily took home a confiscated device, albeit by mistake. I received a response Monday morning apologizing for what happened and promising to address this issue. So my sister-in-law works at the high school, but smokes with the teachers at the junior school. She bumped into this teacher who was angry and said that we were being idiots in reporting it, since she had already promised to pay for the phone and offered an alternative. She is a good teacher, so we're messing with her career unnecessarily. So yeah, am I the idiot? Not the idiot. The teacher did not follow guidelines, albeit your son was in the wrong. However, phone prices scaled, and she has no reason to take it home with her. How her toddler then got a hold of it and broke it is an entirely different issue. The teacher's upset she got in trouble for not following the rules, just like your son was upset his phone was taken for not following the rules. Right? Like, I get that accidents happen, and I can understand her forgetting to drop it off and take it home. However, how her toddler just happened to get a hold of it seems really odd to me. I mean, does she habitually toss her purse at the kid and let them have it? That seems pretty unlikely and wildly unsafe. Reporting her was the right move. If you confiscate something in school, you're taking responsibility for it. The toddler broke it? I'm wondering if OP's son's phone had a passcode or lock or not. Maybe the teacher let the toddler play games or watch videos on it. Why else did she stick it in her purse? It's also really inappropriate to have big financial transactions like that between a teacher and a family. Exactly. She should have reported it to the school first. By going directly to you, she was hoping to keep it unofficial. She made an honest mistake. If she had reported it, the school probably would have paid for the phone and figured out a policy for dropping confiscated phones off after hours. Now she's in much hotter water. Her fault. You were in the right to keep things official.